there's another movie that got announced.
Just a small movie, right?
That
Nothing big.
Well, which one do you want to jump to? Because there's two.
I mean, should we start with? I think the big news, right, is Dave.
Okay.
That's almost depends on. It kind of depends on your point of view. I feel like it's almost bigger than
Then
Ray in
Daisy
some
Ridley.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
almost.
it's big news because for one, we have these stories that were told on Disney Plus. So in what people are now calling the Mandoverse,
Hmm.
where we have Mandalorian, we have Book of Boba Fett, and we have Ahsoka, and that's kind of the three. I think what people are considering the Mandoverse. I don't think I'm
Hmm.
missing anything there, and there's nothing else coming. There was gonna be the whatever of the New Republic, the Rangers, was
Yeah,
it called?
Rangers. I think that's out of the Mandoverse now.
Yeah, so
Right.
that kind of got scrapped for obvious reasons, and
And they brought a lot of those plot threads into the Mandalorian.
yeah, and they probably will bring some of them into this movie too, I imagine.
Hmm.
So what it looks like is that this movie is going to be, like you said, directed by Dave Filoni. So he'll get his first like major Star Wars theatrical movie directing, which a lot of people I think thought would eventually happen. So we're seeing it happen, and it's going to be the culmination of these stories that are being told on Disney Plus. They're going to all connect, and then we're going to have this movie that's going to kind of, I guess, finish it off. Um, which is kind of an interesting choice because then you would think like you're almost alienating some of the viewers, like people that are going to go to the movie to see it, but they haven't watched all the TV stuff.
Right.
So to make it more accessible for the larger audiences will be very interesting to see how they pull that off.
Hmm.
But to have that story kind of finish on the big screen will be very cool for those of us that have been following along.
Yeah. I I'm just so happy for Dave that he's getting a movie and he's going to be able to tie in all these things. I'm very curious what it's going to be about, right? Is it going to be so far, yeah, they're all part of the same universe. There's crossovers between the shows, but we haven't seen a ton of we don't really know what the central focal point of those storylines is, right? There's hints around, oh, the Empire is doing something with cloning, right? And there's hints around Grogu related. There's hints, obviously the Mandalorians are a big piece. But the thing that surprised me most, it says that movie will close out the interconnected stories. That's very interesting. That almost feels like ending the series, like it's the end of the series, but then at the same time, recently Jon Favreau said they don't really have an end in sight for the Mandalorian. They're going to keep going, so maybe they're just going to take the interconnected portion and end it. I don't know. What do you?
They probably have a story that they've kind of mapped out that they're leading to.
Yeah.
But they're leaving some things open because obviously, you might change course if Book of Boba Fett was a huge, huge hit, which I think it did fine, like in streaming numbers, but
Right.
critically, it didn't do as well. And I think if it had been a huge hit, we probably would have seen, oh, okay, that was popular. Let's focus a lot more on that character, and we might have gotten an announcement of season 2 right away. And so I think they're leaving some of these options open, so they don't want to completely close it off. But I do think there's probably an overall story they're leading to. And, like you had mentioned, the cloning, I think, is going to play into it. They're obviously setting the stage for like some of the stuff that's coming with the First Order and kind of like Return of the Emperor, and kind of setting like, okay, this is how that happened or could have happened with some of this cloning stuff. But then it's also going to tie into Thrawn, and we know Thrawn is part of the Ahsoka series, and he's out in the, unknown regions or wherever he is right now. So there could be some connection there. But then it's like you would think that Thrawn is maybe the big baddie in Ahsoka, but for the big movie, it might be something bigger, And there's always been this talk around Thrawn kind of not necessarily being a villain, but also like kind of playing a part in like he's trying to prepare the galaxy for some other threat that's coming. And now we know in Legends it was the Yuuzhan Vong, but it could be something else in the show or in the movie. Or it could be the Yuuzhan Vong. Who knows? I have definitely heard some people speculating that might be the big bad that they bring in eventually. So
Interesting. I mean, I know they wanted to bring him into the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
At one
and that
point,
was Filoni that was wanting to bring him in. So yeah, I can't wait to see kind of where it all goes. But I do think they're doing a really good job of kind of like laying the groundwork and kind of giving us these little teases that we probably won't even realize they're kind of giving us these little morsels until we see something else, and then we're like, oh my goodness, they were teasing that all the way back in that one
years
episode
ago. Yeah.
Remember that episode where they're eating the glowing popsicles? Like that one line that they said, like
exactly.
So there's going to be stuff that we will appreciate later. But
yeah, and actually, I was just reading this. I saw this interview with Dave Filoni on IGN, and they're asking about this culmination. And
okay,
he says, I don't know if I call it a finale, but it's this time period. New Republic has, I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit. The New Republic has existed for a while, but they've been mapping out all these storylines for quite a while, and it just kind of the story escalated to the point. He says, "quote to the story escalated to the point where Jon Favreau and he were talking about it, and they've had this plan for a while, and it seemed like a movie was the next possible step, and so they can expand on it and do something bigger than in their streaming shows." He's still vague about what that story is and what exactly it means, but he says, quote, "We knew the story would culminate. You have little culminations that come with each season, and you have characters coming in and out. Those characters and storylines start to demand that you're starting to deal with larger forces and bigger trends within the time period. So to a certain point, the rubber is going to hit the road in many ways."
Okay. So Grogu or no Grogu in this movie?
For sure. If it's the tying together all the shows,
he's got to be in it.
He's got to be in it. Maybe it's his culmination.
Oh, please no. I hope not.
No, well, maybe it's the end of Grogu's storyline, though.
No offense to Grogu, but I don't know. They've been playing that trick pony for a while now.
Grogu, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a fun little side thing, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I want him to become the main focus. Like, why is he so important? Maybe they'll, is he going to be the next chosen one? I don't know. It just feels like
you never know.
They're really dragging out this character that probably there was never any intention for him to be so important until they realized how much T-shirts he could sell. And then it's suddenly like, oh, now let's make him in everything, let's get him his own Mando armor. So I don't know. I'm getting a little jaded on Grogu.
Oh yeah.
Unpopular opinion. I know.
That's okay. It's okay. It's the number one reason my wife enjoys The Mandalorian. Grogu,
which should not be the reason that we want him to stay around. I'm sorry. I like your wife, but if they wrote Star Wars to please my wife, the Star Wars would not be that interesting. No offense, babe.
But, oh boy. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so much. I'm excited though. I just want to see Dave Filoni's movie and how they tie everything together.
Yeah, no, it's I like what he's done for the most part with Star Wars. He has his critics for sure, and I think he sometimes maybe overdoes like his own creations. He kind of like he really brings his stuff into the forefront because he has that power now.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like, okay, does everything have to be a tie into Rebels? But I also enjoy his knowledge of the story and just kind of his style. I do enjoy. So I think it'll be cool to see him finally get a movie.
I agree.